Today on Omni Garage, we are doing a bit of a test that we've been wanting to do for quite some time. We've got a whole range of products that are laid out in front of us, and they've all got something in common.
Yes, they do. You're right.
What do they have in common, Glenn?
Well, they sort of come from this category of high pH washes to some degree, not specifically, but maybe a high pH wash or like this sort of category of a touchless wash.
Yep.
Now, it's a bit of a trend at the moment in the detailing community where we can spray on a soap, we can let it dwell, we can let it eat away at the organic matter on the surface, and then we can rinse it off. And the idea is that we are trying to get the surface as clean as possible before we come in with our mechanical abrasion or our mechanical mitts where we're going to agitate and remove the rest of the dirt. And so what we want is we want the surface as clean as possible before we come into that sort of stage, because we want to reduce the ability of marring and scratching on the surface. Correct. Because it's when we touch the paint is when we induce the most amount of scratches. And so that's why you'll see some of these products called touchless or, you know, a pre-foam type product. And so some of these are really high pH, some of these are neutral pH with the power cleaning of a alkaline product. And so what we're going to do here is we've got these diluted in some foam cannons to their recommended dilution on the back of the bottle. We're going to spray these onto the surface dry. We're going to let them dwell. We're going to rinse them off. We're going to do the tissue paper test and see how clean we got the surface of the vehicle.
And there's two questions we want to answer today. Number one is it necessary to use a product like this? I already think that yes, it is necessary, because as Glenn said, the whole idea here is to remove as much of that organic matter as you can, so there's less risk of scratching or marring when you get to the wash stage. So we want to answer that question. The second question we want to answer is which product? Which one is best? Because it's one of those things where we've got, what have we got here? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in front of us that we want to play with, because it's not feasible for us or anyone to have 6 different products in their cabinet. We need to narrow this down for us and go, hey, based on performance and based on personal preference, which is our top one, maybe top 2 of the setup right here.
So what we've got is the Omni Garage foaming surface prep. Now what's unique about the Griot system is that we can just put our foam cannon, top part of the foam cannon on the top. We can use our metering tip and we're going to draw through the product exactly how it is out of here. And so that's what we're going to do there. That's why it's not diluted in the foam cannon. We have Labo Cosmetica Primus 2.0, and we have diluted this in the foam cannon of a dilution of 1 to 5. That's the recommended dilution that they want to use when we're using it in the foam cannon. So that's what we've got.
All of the products that we're using here today, we're using at the recommended dilution ratio.
Detail Co high pH soap, this is the hard wash, and I've diluted that to 1 to 10 in this foam cannon here. We've got a really new product to the market, which is by Optimum. It's named Touchless. This can be used in sort of a different type of process. You can use it as a touchless, you can use it as a decon wash, etc., and we have diluted that to the recommendation of, can you remember what you put it as?
I think it was 42 or whatever we used.
Heavy duty color wash foam cannon, 4 ounces to 32 ounces of water. Yeah, that's what's in that foam cannon. Here we've got the Built Hamber Touchless. Now this is known as the sort of the staple, the GOAT, the best one that everyone's using. It's highly talked about. We've got an impact ratio, panel impact ratio of 5%, 2%. Why did I say 5%?
I don't know. Nice.
There's some strange calculation you've got to do to get that to 2%. We have made a video on that. Go back and watch that video. That will show you how to dilute it, or you can go onto the website. That's in there. Now this product is a little bit different, and so this is also by Labo Cosmetica. It is an alkaline, no it's not, it's a neutral pH that has got the surfactants and the cleaning power of an alkaline based soap. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one performs. And so kind of what you're seeing here is we've got some that are really high pH, some of them are sitting around a neutral base type pH like this product. This has got a slightly higher pH and this is slightly neutral. What we want to do is we want to see the cleaning power of these products just by spraying them on and rinsing them off. And also we want to see that maybe one that's not necessarily a high pH might have a cleaning power of something slightly different than a higher pH, because what you've got to remember here is pH does not answer the question. If I use the highest pH, that means it's going to have the best cleaning. Not necessarily. It's all about the surfactant package that's built up into the product, because You know, good surfactants might have a better cleaning power than something that's got lower surfactants that might have a higher pH. And so that's what we're going to see here, and that's what we're going to test out.
Now, we're not going to do a really in-depth description of each of these products. We're not going to go through and do, you know, specific product testing like we typically would in a normal 15-20 minute Omni Garage video. The whole premise of this video is to get all of these products on the car behind us. We've split some panels down, and we really just want to test out the performance and preference. So this isn't going to be an hour-long video comparing all of the key differences between these. It's purely going to focus on which performs better, and then we'll be able to give some anecdotal feedback as well around which we enjoyed working with more.
So this car hasn't been cleaned for a couple of months or so, and you can see that it's pretty dirty, right? So we've got a whole heap of dirt and grime, organic matter, road film, etc. on this vehicle. So when someone says, oh, you've used this and the car's not dirty, well, I'm just showing you that it is. Quite a bit of dirt around the back of the vehicle here. And so this stuff will be really hard baked on traffic film, especially when it's been sitting on the vehicle for a couple of months. And so the same again is all down here on the lower panels, all the way along here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to split this vehicle up into sort of 6 panels. We're going to use the front door, the rear door, and we're going to use the rear quarter for the 3 products on this side, and then we're going to do exactly the same on this side. That rear panel, the rear door, and the front door, and we're going to spray these on, let them dwell, and then use a tissue paper test to see which one has cleaned the surface the best. So here on the first section of the vehicle we've got Primus 2.0 by Labo Cosmetica, and that's what we're going to use on this panel here.
Okay, and then immediately we're going to follow up on this rear door of the car using the detail coat. This is their hard wash, so this is their high pH soap.
And because we've only got a very small volume of liquid in the foam can, you're going to find that it might struggle to pull through. It might be a bit spotty.
That is a far thicker soap in that one there, at that dilution factor. And then if you come around to the back of the car here, we're going to work on the quarter and half of the back using the brand new product by Optimum. This is the Touchless Decon Wash. This one here was way gluggier, probably the gluggiest of all of the shampoos that we were using. So it'll be interesting to see how this one foams out. You look at that, extremely thick as well. So there we go, we've got our 3 different soaps on there. I mean, that hard wash was extremely foamy, but I mean the Optimum one as well, given that how gluggy it was coming out of the bottle, that's not a surprise to me how thick that one there is at all. Whereas our Primus, the Labo Cosmetica one, was a bit of a finer foam, and as you can see, it's probably the one that's actually more uniform in terms of how it's sitting on the surface right now, whereas the likes of our hard wash is falling off in bigger clumps there, and you can actually see it if you come down to the side of the car and look at what's dropping off those rails. You can see it's dropping in big clumps from the hard wash, whereas it's a bit finer, the runoff that we're getting from Primus.
And that's it, you kind of want this soap to be sort of like a blanket or like a curtain. You want it to stay on the surface and dwell and eat that organic matter as long as possible. If it's in clumps and big shaving foam type stuff, it tends to run down the panel really quickly and removes itself, and so that's going to limit the ability of it to cling and basically eat away at the material that's on the surface here. So
yeah,
we'll let that dwell for a couple of times. You don't want it to dry on the surface. So as soon as you start to see it to dry, it's time to rinse it off, because, you know, different climates will have different dwell times. So we're overcast, it's not hot, it's winter time here, and so we've probably got a longer dwell time than if you were doing this in direct sunlight in the summer. Yeah,
we've probably left this about a minute so far. I'm inclined to leave this for at least another minute, given we're out of that sun, before we come along and rinse this off.
This has had sort of 4 or 5 minutes to dwell. You can start to see where the Labo Cosmetica one is probably starting to dry on there. What's really important here is it's overcast and it's 17 degrees, so not overly hot here. I'm now going to rinse these from bottom up and then top down, and we'll see what kind of results we have. So Glenn has given me some of his finest toilet paper. What brand are you going for, man?
Is it like Sorbent? Kleenex?
I don't know.
Nah, it's Sorbent.
It feels plush.
It is plush. 3-ply.
So with these first 3 products, it's been rinsed. It hasn't had a chance to dry. Drying would then make this look even worse than it really is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe this along with the paper towel, toilet paper in this case.
Where are you going, about mid-door?
Yeah, let's just go mid-door. Should I go mid and then lower? Should I do a double wipe?
Yeah, one on each side maybe. So this is Premise, Labo Cosmetica.
I don't think I need to re-wipe that, do I?
I don't think you need to re-wipe that. I mean, you've left half the toilet paper on the door there.
And again here.
This is Hard Wash by Detail Co. Probably pretty similar results there. And I think the important thing to remember here is, again, this is not looking for 100% removal from dirt, but it is looking at removing some of it. And this is the Optimum product. I mean, I think Optimum's probably got the most dirt left on there, but potentially you've gone to the dirtiest panel. I'd like to see you do Optimum again, just up here. Maybe use that other side.
So there you go. I think this just really highlights the fact that these sort of products are not necessarily going to remove the dirt and give you a nice touchless finish, a nice clean vehicle. You're definitely going to have to go in and do some mechanical agitation here. But what we're trying to show you here is that we can remove some of the dirt and grime and try and get the vehicle slightly cleaner. And so we're going to do the same test on the other side with the other 3 products, and let's see what we get.
Okay, and then we've got Touchless by Built Hamber. We're going to spray this on the front door of the car here, and to be fair, this is the dirtiest door. If it can do a good job at pulling this up, I will be very, very impressed, because we don't have that on any of the other panels of the car. Spray this one on. All right, and then on the rear door of the car here, we've got another Labo Cosmetica product. This is Neve, so this is their foam pre-wash. So we'll spray this one here.
This is the neutral pH that's got the cleaning power of an alkaline soap. So be interesting to see. This is probably the one that's going to do, maybe not have the best cleaning power because of where it sits, but it's just interesting to put it in the mix.
So this is interesting, because this is opposite of the other side of the car, where we had the Labo Cosmetica product Premise that we used on the front door, which had more of a consistency like the Built Hamber product we've just applied, whereas this here is much thicker, and we're getting a consistency which is very similar to the Hard Wash and also our Optimum product, where it's a lot clumpier and you get these kind of bare sections as it works its way off the car.
And then you just need to spray on the foaming surface prep down there.
While I'm getting that ready, go and have a look at the dirt that's coming off, particularly the front of the car there, from Touchless. Look at the colour difference. You come along and you get to the Labo Cosmetica, it's a lot whiter, isn't it? Okay, and then we've got the Griot's foaming surface prep here. So we're ready for rinse off of the 3 products that we put on this side of the car. Again, we'll go from bottom to top. Paper towel test.
Paper towel test. So you can see it didn't, the Built Hamber there didn't really remove that big chunk, but you'd probably just want to just pick that off, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
I didn't expect it to remove that at all.
But if I just do the same, what, mid-panel?
Yeah, mid-panel.
Bit of a swipe. There's that one.
Okay, and then
this is the Neve, so this is the neutral pH wash.
Yeah, quite a bit of dirt on that one there. And then we've got the foaming surface prep. Griot's. Like a medium level of dirt on there. Again, like not a huge difference between the 3 here. What are you thinking?
I don't know what I'm thinking.
What I was very impressed with is the built hamper, which is the one on the left here in the runoff from the car. It looked very, very dirty, what was coming off. Okay, Glenn and I have left this about 20 minutes just while the panel's dry, and we've had a bit of a conversation off camera as well. So
I think with the panels being dry, you can see where cleaning has happened, where it hasn't happened. You're also going to see where the tissue paper swipe test took place. And so I think if we just forget about the bottom rocker of all the whole car, I think, because that will throw your opinion, I think, a little bit.
Extremely dirty. We've got to look from kind of lower to mid door up.
And I think just as a blanket here, I don't think any of these products have done a touchless clean. Meaning I don't think this car is clean enough now to say, hey, look, I washed my car. I can still see quite a lot of road film and that sort of stuff on there. So absolutely, it sort of proves the point that you would now need to go in and do your contact wash like you typically would. But I think we've managed to remove maybe some larger bits of dirt, maybe a bit of grit, which is really important to remove, so that now we're a little bit safer to come into the contact wash. And so, I mean, what did we have on here? We had Labo Cosmetica Primus.
Yep. And then we had
Detail Co hard wash, yep. And then on the back there we had the new product by Optimum. And I think what I would have liked to have seen is some of this road film to actually have been removed. And what I'm talking about is stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, if you rub your finger along that, it's very, very clear that there's a lot of grime still left on the surface.
I understand that we're not probably going to remove this. This is quite heavy dirt, but I would have liked a little bit more of this to be removed, and I don't think that's happened on any of them. I mean, it's really hard, and I think this comes down to personal opinion, personal preference. I will show you the tissue paper results there as well, but you can see around the back,
so this is
still pretty dirty around here.
We had the Grios.
We've done quite a few wipe tests on there.
Yeah, we have.
And I mean, it didn't even remove any of this stuff, so.
It was a foaming surface prep. If you come to the rear door here, we had the other Labo Cosmetica product. We had Neve.
Yep. And then on the front there was the built hamper. And I think what's really important here is the only product we saw do this was the product by Built Hamber, that we could actually see dirt and grime in the foam on the driveway. And what that tells us is that it's actually pulled some stuff off and pulled it down. And so, I mean, that would probably argue that maybe that has done the best cleaning, but come over to the paper and we'll show you what we think. Okay, so we've put these in some sort of order based off the tissue test. Now, this is very subjective. It's Glenn and I's opinion on which one we think managed to remove the most amount of dirt. You could argue in this middle section one might come before the other. That's your personal preference, and also pick the product that you like the best. But we think that Built Hamber has done the best job of getting the surface cleaner out of all of these. We also like the consistency of how that foam was delivered onto the surface. So it sort of went on like a curtain. It stayed pretty well, you know, stuck onto the surface. That allowed it to have a lot of dwell time, a lot of time to eat away the dirt and grime. The consistency of the Labo Cosmetica product was also the same. And so we think that's why that has delivered sort of slightly better results, is that the foam has stayed there, a lot of dwell time, and that's why we've got a cleaner surface. We also like the Built Hamber also had that sort of visual appearance of it pulling the dirt off the panel and dumping it on the driveway. You could see that foam sort of you could see the dirt lining up in the foam there. When we come down this end, we sort of think that sort of maybe hard wash and the Neve product was slightly clumpy. It sort of looked like shaving cream on the surface. Maybe that was, you could play around with the dilutions a little bit, but we also found that the thicker foam stuck onto the surface, but as that sort of weight got too heavy, it would then fall off the surface in sort of clumps, and maybe that's limited the ability of these products to eat away the dirt and grime, and hence maybe not clean as well as the others. The surface prep was also sort of the same, and so was the Optimum. Quite thick foam, and therefore limiting the dwell time. Definitely, I think that the Omni Garage and the Optimum product has done the worst in the cleaning ability, but also be reminded that these were on the back of the car, which might have impacted the results a little bit here. So that's our thoughts on how this is done. Definitely has proved a point to us that you cannot get away with using a touchless product to clean your vehicle. Maybe if you had very light, you know, dusting on your vehicle, maybe you'd only driven it once or twice, you could get away and you'd end up with a cleaner result. But I think a car that hasn't been cleaned for multiple months and has driven in some dirt, has driven in the wet where we've got a lot of road film, etc., and there you also saw big chunks of dirt on there. I definitely think that these products help, but I definitely don't think that these are going to clean the surface for you. You are going to have to come in and do some manual agitation.
So if we had to go out and buy a gallon today I think the product that we're buying is Touchless by Built Hamper. Now, for any reason, if this product here was out of stock and we couldn't get our hands on it, I think the two that I would be looking to purchase would be either the Labo Cosmetica Premise, which had a very, very similar product makeup to this here in the delivery of it, or I would actually go and buy the Detail Co Hard Wash. So if I had to categorize a top three, I think it would be these three here. I do think this had superior cleaning ability, and I would definitely go to that, but I don't think you can really go wrong with either of these three options here. I don't think these three are bad as well, but I think that we're showing you, based on the test that we did today, that these three here are the superior performers of the six.
And also there's something I'd just like to add, that these products, especially these two, have got some other further dilutions that you can do.
Correct.
So you can put these at high dilution rates into like a pump sprayer, and that you could use this as like a pre-treat for the pre-treat. So you could spray these on, higher dilution, let that dwell, and then foam over the top. And I think that will help improve your cleaning ability. So that's just something to keep in mind with these products. You can push them a little bit further to help increase that cleaning power.
Yeah, but I mean, the test we've done today is the way that we would use this product. We would want this.
And also based on what the back of the bottle tells you to do.
Well, exactly. We've followed the instruction here rather than kind of go out on our own and make up our own dilutions. But we would use this as a pre-treat. We wouldn't rinse the car. We would spray this on. We may add some additional product to the front of the car where we've got bug build-up before we spray this. But this would go on. We'd rinse it off, and then we'd move into like a pH neutral contact wash. As Glenn showed you here, and as Glenn said a couple of times, you cannot use this as a full touchless. Unless you just had dust on your car, you're going to need to manually agitate in order to get a good result. So I think the Omni Garage pick as of today is this one here, but as we've said, if that's not available, I think these two, you can't really go wrong with either of those. So if you've got any other suggestions for us, let us know in the comments down below. But I think for now, we're probably shopping, looking for a gallon of the Built Hamper Touchless. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.